Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Quite stylish. And maybe I seem a bit confused.
Hey everyone, this is JamesimusPrime2798 here. I thought I'd just drop in and say welcome back to JamesimusPrime2798 Q&A. This is Q&A number 16. Alright, let's get on with some questions, shall we? Question number 1. Favorite Great Western engine in Thomas and Friends? It's Oliver the Great Western engine. He's a GWR 14XX tank engine. He's number 11 on the railway. He's very wise. He is Duck, Donald and Douglas's best friend. And he has a brake van called Toad, always addressing him as Mr. Oliver. Oliver works on the Little Western line with Duck on Sodor. When Oliver was first introduced, he was on the outskirts in Vickerstown, basically the Vickerstown goods depot. He was in a siding with Toad, and of course with Isabella. Basically, if you read the Railway series, Isabel does appear in the Railway series. And they're on the other railway at Barrow-in-Furness in England. He was going to be scrapped until later that night. Douglas was taking the midnight goods train. He was shunting ready for his return journey, and then he hears a hiss of steam. Douglas was scared, and when he soon found out it was Oliver, he explains to Douglas that he is with his brake van, Toad, and they've ran out of coal and he has no more steam, and he is escaping from scrap. Douglas began to shiver about hearing the word scrap. Then he remembers Edward's story about saving Trevor, and how if he didn't escape Scotland with Donald, he would have been scrapped too. So he agrees to help Oliver escape, so their crews agreed to help too, and Douglas pulls him out of the siding, tender first, and heads off to Sodor. But they were stopped by a foreman who tells them that they can't take them, but Douglas's driver says that they belong to them and the Fat Controller, and then allows them to leave. When they got back to Sodor, Douglas tells Thomas, Henry, Gordon, Duck and James about Oliver. Gordon and James suggest that he speaks to the Fat Controller at once. And when he comes and was wondering what the engines were talking about, in need of another engine, the Fat Controller agrees. They were hoping for another engine. Douglas explained that one has escaped from scrap, and the Fat Controller smiled and thanked Douglas for rescuing him. Now, and Oliver and Toad are at the works, and Oliver is just what they need for Duck's branch line. Soon, the two were restored and repainted to full Great Western colours. While Oliver was on Sodor, he was told by Henry, James and Gordon that he was amazing. He had resource and sagacity, which made him very clever and wise. Oliver was grateful and was happy that Henry says he's amazing. Oliver was told about trucks from the other engines. Oliver was thinking that he can't manage them. While he was shunting the trucks, they had pushed him backwards really hard and made him fall bunker first into the turntable. Duck was there when Oliver fell into the turntable well. The Fat Controller sends him to the works to be mended. After he was mended, he refused to touch trucks. Scruffy and the other trucks teased him about it. Thomas, Percy and Duck were cross, but the three engines felt sorry for Oliver, including Toad. Toad spoke to Douglas and asked if he could help Oliver for today, and he agreed to. Toad explained his plan to Duck and Oliver. So Oliver arranged the trucks, and he had Scruffy behind him. And then he tells him to hold back. And when Oliver pulls really hard, Scruffy was strained between the trucks and Oliver. And when he got stretched, he came apart. And the Fat Controller knew that Oliver wasn't to blame for what happened and saw how much damaged Scruffy was. And nowadays, Oliver only takes the trucks when the other engines are busy, but they're always quick to warn each other as well. So yeah, guys, Oliver is a great character, and I've used Oliver a few times in my parodies. I've used him as one of the underwater big band fishes in my Wiggles movie parodies, Comet in my Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer parody, Jolt in my Transformers Revenge of the Fallen parody, himself in my Toy Story 3 parody, Rogan in my Shrek Forever After parody, and himself, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie's older brother in my Simpsons movie parody. And yet to come, he will be replaying as Rogan in my Gordon Forever After, Shrek Forever After parody, Oliver in my Oliver and Company parody. And guys, I know I've used Oliver as Jolt in my Transformers Revenge of the Fallen parody, but I'm going to use him as Wheeljack in my Transformers Rise of the Beast parody and my Bumblebee parody. Yeah, I like Oliver, and I like Duck as well. He's my second favourite GWR engine. Here's a GWR 57XX class. He is number 8 on the Northwestern Railway. He is green, he is hard-working, and he does work without fuss. His real name is Montague, but he's usually called Duck. They say he waddles, but he doesn't really, but he likes Duck better than Montague. When Duck was first introduced in the television series in the Railway series, Percy was having hard times doing shunting in the yards. The work was getting heavy for him, and the Fat Controller was getting a bigger engine to help him. He tells Gordon and James about it, but the two big engines were grumpy at Percy because Percy was asking Gordon, "Do you know what?" twice, and James made a suggestion that if Percy worked more and chatted less, the yard would be a sweeter, a better, and a happier place. Percy was shunting, and he thinks the big engines don't listen to him. When Percy was finished shunting, the Fat Controller tells him that he can go build the new harbour with Thomas and Toby, which made Percy feel a lot better. When Duck arrived, Percy showed him what to do. Gordon, James, and Henry became obsessed with Duck and decided to have some fun and order him about, which they did. Blew smoke on Duck. Percy was grumpy at all this. Duck asked him if they tell him to do things as well, and Percy agreed with him, and they both made a decision to pay the big engines out by blocking the shed and turntable. So the three big engines came and they argued with Duck and Percy. The Fat Controller came to stop the noise. Gordon says to him, "They won't let us in." Duck tells the Fat Controller that they only take orders from him, not the big engines. The Fat Controller understood and was pleased with Duck and Percy's work, but not their behaviour, because they have caused a disturbance. Gordon, James, and Henry thought it was funny until the Fat Controller turned on them and told them that they've been worse. After Percy went away, Duck was left to manage alone, and he did so easily. And I know Duck got falsely accused by Gordon, James, and Henry that he tells lies about them to the trucks, which isn't true because Duck doesn't talk to the trucks. He always says shut up to them if they're causing trouble. Basically, Diesel was the one who told the lies, because Diesel had a grudge against Duck because of the trucks, and he felt jealous of him. So yeah, guys, I've used Duck a few times in my parodies. I've used him as one of the underwater big band fishes in my Wiggles movie parody, Arrow in my Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer parody, Toby's dad in my Robin Hood parody, Cookie in my Henry Forever After, Shrek Forever After parody, Danny Swerve in my Cars 3 parody, Crosshairs in my Transformers Age of Extinction parody, himself in my Toy Story 3 parody, and Kirk Van Houten in my Simpsons movie parody. And I'm not sure what his yet to come is, but we'll just see soon. You see, yeah, I like Duck and Oliver. Oh yeah, and guys, I got two Barkman models of Duck and Oliver right here. This is Barkman Oliver and this is Barkman Duck. I've had Duck for over a year now, and so has Oliver, because I got Duck last year when I went to Sydney in 2027, and I got Oliver last year in November because of the Black Friday sale in November. So yeah, I like these two models. They're very well detailed, and they do run around my layout, and you've probably seen them in my Streamliners music video I did. Alright, question number 2. Favourite twin engines in Thomas and Friends? It's Donald and Douglas. They're both Scottish twins. They are Practical and Pepper. They're both mature and more responsible than Bill and Ben. They work hard a lot. They are painted black and have red and white stripes, and they both have numbers 9 and 10. In the Railway series, before they came to Sodal, their old numbers were 57646 and 57647. When they were introduced, only one engine was brought to help on the railway, and that was Donald. Douglas came along two so that the Fat Controller would think he bought both engines, but because the two liked being together. So the twins meant well, but they did cause confusion, so they were given numbers 9 and 10. In the Railway series, Duck showed them what to do and told them to be aware of Gordon, James, and Henry because they would pull jokes on them. It's something Henry would have do sometimes, but if he's siding with Gordon and James, because Henry's not always like Gordon and James. He's more like Edward, Thomas, and Percy. Donald and Douglas did shunting in the yards, but Douglas misplaced Thomas's special coach and the two engines swapped tenders because they had no numbers on them, just their tenders. The Fat Controller was cross that the two swapped tenders and misplaced Thomas's special coach. So he decided to send one engine away, but he'll make the choice soon. There was a spiteful brake van in the yard that took a dislike to Douglas. He caused trouble on him and made his trains late and got blamed. Donald was cross and starts arguing with the brake van and teaches him a lesson. But Donald had an accident by backing into the siding and couldn't stop in time. It was because the rails were slippery and he crashed into the signal box by accident. The Fat Controller blames him for the accident and didn't accept clumsiness from Donald and was planning to send Douglas back and keep him, but Donald didn't slam into the signal box on purpose. I wish the Fat Controller would investigate what went wrong first and then say, Donald, you are not to blame for what's happened. Donald apologized and the Fat Controller thought so too and tells James to take the goods work while Donald has his tender repaired. James was grumpy, but Douglas hears from Gordon and Henry about the time James had an accident with some tar wagons. James didn't like to be reminded of his own accident he had. James was taking the goods train and was losing steam. Douglas was pushing him up the hill, and then the brake van crushed the pieces between Douglas and the trucks. That's because Douglas was helping James. Edward came to clean up the mess with the breakdown train. The Fat Controller was making up his mind about something. The twins were worried that they would be sent away, but they did well in the snow and saved Henry. The engines all agreed that something must be done for them, but none knew what. Percy asked Edward for some advice, and Edward tells him that they need a deputation, and tells the other engines by mistakenly calling it a desperation, and tells them the others about it. Gordon agrees that Percy would be their disputation. Percy was shocked and couldn't do it, but Henry tells him it's easy. Percy went to talk to the Fat Controller and explains the deputation on Donald and Douglas. Later he spoke to his engines and hears that Donald and Douglas were very good in the snow and decides to keep both engines and ends up paying for Douglas and gives them a new coat of paint, and their names will be painted on signs on their sides of their smoke boxes to have no more mistakes. So yeah, the twins were there to stay. And Douglas also rescued Oliver from scrap, which I've already mentioned in question number 1. So yeah, I've used Donald and Douglas a few times in my parodies. I've used them as Rusty and Dusty in my Cars parodies, Prancer and Vixen in my Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer parody, themselves in my Toy Story 3 parody, Drift in my Transformers Age of Extinction parody, Two of the Ogres in my Shrek Forever After parodies, and Donald Duck in my DuckTales parodies. But yet, I don't know they're yet to come yet, but that's okay. And guys, just like I showed you with Duck and Oliver, I got 2 Barkman models of Donald and Douglas right here. See, Donald and Douglas. I love these 2 models. I got Donald last year when I went to Sydney along with Duck because I tried to look for Douglas, but they didn't have him. But when I went online, I bought Douglas, and I bought Oliver and Toad along with him. So that way I got the crew from Escape. And don't worry, I do have Ertl Donald and Douglas models as well, but I didn't bring those out. That's okay. I packed them away again. Alright, question number 3. Opinions on Upper Middle Bogan. Upper Middle Bogan is a good show. It's about a woman who was a nurse, and she was adopted, and she never knew she was a bogan. And she has a husband named Danny and 2 kids. And she acts like a bogan a lot. And the show was filmed in Victoria. Well, guys, I started watching Upper Middle Bogan a couple of years ago, but I soon I'm still getting to know it, but once I do another Q&A, I'll re-answer this. Sorry guys, I'm drinking Mountain Dew. It's what I do when I edit videos sometimes. Alright, number 4. What is my favourite film featuring 3801? It's Steam Train Passes and 3801, The Outback Steamer Journey to the Centre. They're my favourite 3801 films. In A Steam Train Passes, it shows 3801 being built and showing the events from 1974 as travelling around the Hawkesbury River Bridge and through the countryside. And the second one, The Outback Steam, takes place where 3801 does a trip from Sydney to Alice Springs in 1992. About 32 years ago. Yeah, and The Steam Train Passes is a good film, and this year is its 50th anniversary. I've done a parody on the movie, but I've scheduled it for this month on the 27th. So yeah, my cast is Gordon the Big Engine as 3801, Mario and Luigi as the driver and fireman, Carl Fredrickson as the elderly passenger, Tom Wachowski and Wade Whipple as the soldiers, John Bennett and Laurie Collins as the bride and groom, Mr. Mosby as the signalman, Principal Skinner as the station master, the Simpsons characters as the passengers, Garfield as the cat, and the various Sodor engines as the New South Wales Rail Transport Museum engines. I will do a V2 on it one day, and I've already got my cast confirmed for it. The cast is Henry the Green Engine as 3801, Bo Duke as the driver, Luke Duke as the fireman, Grandpa Abe Simpson as the elderly passenger, Pete Maverick Mitchell and Nick Goose Bradshaw as the soldiers, Michael Kelso as the groom, Jackie Burhark as the bride, Vincent Felix Jr. as the signalman, Mr. Mackey as the station master, and various South Park characters as the passengers. And we'll be reusing Garfield as the cat and the Sodor engines as the Rail Transport Museum engines. Alright, number 5. When did I first watch Transformers? Well, I watched Transformers back in 2007, about 17 years ago, when the first movie came out. Yeah, because back in 2007, I was 8, almost 9, and that's when I first got into it. Yeah, and then in 2008, I watched Transformers Animated on Cartoon Network. It looks very similar to G1, which I've seen in 2009. And yeah, I became a fan of Transformers since 2007. Alright, question number 6. What other Herbie parodies am I going to do? I'm still planning to do the Lub McQueen, the Lub Bug 1997 next year. And I know the Lub Bug 1997 shares the same similarities as the first Lub Bug movie, but they're both 29 years apart, and I will be doing the parody next year. And I'm also going to be doing the Herbie the Lub Bug mini TV series from 1982, which I'm going to do either next year or the year after in 2026, which is the year Claudia Wells, aka Julie McLean, is turning 60. So I might do it that time. Alright, number 7. What are my favourite Disney movies? I've got a lot of favourite Disney movies. There's the Herbie the Love Bug movies, The Swap, the 2 Jungle Book movies, Robin Hood, the 2 Peter Pan movies, the 2 101 Dalmatians movies, the 2 Fox and the Hound movies, the 2 Planes movies, Meet the Robinsons, Wreck-It Ralph, the 2 Frozen movies, the Cars trilogy, the 3 Toy Story movies, not including the 4th one, Lightyear, Monsters Inc. and Monsters University, Dumbo, the 2 Incredibles movies, Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. They're my favourite Disney movies. Alright, number 8. What are my favourite Lindsay Lohan movies? Well, I got 2 favourite Lindsay Lohan movies. That would be Herbie Fully Loaded and Mean Girls. They're both my favourite Lindsay Lohan movies. I've done a parody on Herbie Fully Loaded called Lightning McQueen Fully Loaded, Herbie Fully Loaded. I did 5 years ago, back in 2019 when I was 21. Yeah, and I'm still planning to do Mean Girls in 2026 for its 22nd anniversary for Lindsay Lohan, aka Katie Huron's 40th birthday. Well, guys, I am going to make some cast changes to that parody. Okay, I'm not going to use Bethany as Regina anymore. I'm going to use Stacy from Sleepover because they're both mean girls. So I reckon that'll work. Alright, 9. Number 9. When will Characters on the Road, Cars on the Road come out? It's coming next year. But I'm going to do some changes to it once I do a confirmed cast video for it. And I'm going to be doing the confirmed cast video for Owen Wilson, aka Lightning McQueen's 56th birthday. So yeah, I'll be doing that parody next year along with the Simpsons shorts, JamesimusPrime2798. Alright, number 10. Will I do that 90s show parody? I think so, but I just need to figure out the cast for it. That is all. If y'all got any cast ideas, pop them down in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to consider some ideas. But however, I'm still keeping Bo Duke as Kelso, Laurie Collins as Jackie, Emma Ross as Donna, Xander McCormick as Eric, and Homer and Marge as Red and Kitty. But however, I'm thinking of using Phoebe as Betsy from Thundermans as Betsy, because performed by the same actress. So yeah, I reckon I can do a cast video for that 90 show, and I do like the show. But however, this year the show got cancelled for some reason, and the show was going nicely. And I really wish they did season 3, so that way we could see Leah go to high school with Nate, Ozzy, Nikki, Gwen, and Jay. Alright, question number 11. I know I've answered this early this year, but last year, but I'm gonna answer it again. What parodies will I be doing next year? The parodies I've got planned for next year in 2025 are The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas, JamesimusPrime2798, Gordon 2, Shrek 2, The Land Before Time 5, The Mysterious Island, JamesimusPrime2798, The Dukes of Hazzard Movie V2, JamesimusPrime2798, Yogi's Dinosaur Movie, Pooh's Heffalump Movie, Thomas the Tank Engine 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Transformers The Last Night, Transformers The Last Night, Lightning McQueen and Friends, Thomas and Friends, Hero the Rails, Vacation, JamesimusPrime2798, The Lub McQueen, The Lub Bug 1997, Herbie Casper, Lightning McQueen and Friends, Thomas and Friends, The Adventure Begins, Louise and Thomas 2, Thomas Has a Glitch, Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch, and The Sandlot 2, JamesimusPrime2798. I know it's a lot of parodies, but I'm going to do them next year. I promise. Alright. Number 12. I know I've answered this before, but I'll answer it again. Who is my favourite character in Kickin' It? It's Jack Brewer. He is the show's main protagonist. He likes karate, skateboarding, eating pizza, and hanging out with Kim, Milton, Jerry, and Rudy. They all go to school together, except Rudy, because he's an adult. Jack has a relationship with Kim, and I don't need to go over how Jack was when he was first introduced, because I've done it already. But the dude is performed by Leo Howard. Yeah, and I've used Jack 5 times in my parodies now. I've used him as James the Red Engine in my Thomas and Friends and Thomas and the Magic Railroad parody, Terrence Myers in my Starsky and Hutch parody, himself Mitzi's boyfriend in my Pokemon parody, Hank in my Roadhouse parody, and Greg in my Sleepover parody. And I'll figure out he's yet to come sooner or later. And yeah, I like Jack, and I like Kim as well. She's my second favourite character. She is the main female character in the series. She does karate as well. She does have a crush on Jack. She is performed by Olivia Holt. For some reason, when I first saw the show, I thought Peyton List was playing her, but no, it's a different actress. But they do kind of look alike somehow, but not exactly. Just two different actresses. Like, for instance, when I saw Liv and Maddie, I thought Peyton List was playing Liv and Maddie, but no, it's Dove Cameron. Yeah, I've used Kim a few times in my parodies. I've used her as one of the kids in my Wiggly Safari parody, Mavis the Quarry Diesel Engine in my Thomas and Friends parody, Heather in my Starsky and Hutch parody, and Misty in my Pokemon parody. And I don't know her yet to come yet, but I'm thinking of using her and Jack as Leah Foreman and Jay Kelso in that 90s show parody. But we'll see. This is just an idea first, but we'll figure it out soon. Okay, guys, that's all the questions I'm going to be answering for you today. If I haven't answered all your questions, but don't worry, I'll answer them in Q&A number 17, which I'll do at the end of this year. So, guys, I want you to subscribe to my channel, watch my YouTube parodies, and watch all the vlogs I have done from 2019 onwards. And also look forward to my upcoming YouTube parodies, A Steam Train Passes, JamesimusPrime2798, and Daisy Aloha Holidays, Jessie Aloha Holidays. So yeah, guys, thank you. I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been JamesimusPrime2798. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye, and I am gone.
But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Frasier has left the building.